We all know betting is not my strong suit. I always have to ask Tom Giles about these things.
It's hard for anybody, Trenni, I'll tell you that.
So here's what I don't understand. The Patriots as dogs with Mike Tomlin as their head coach at home are 14-3-2 against the spread. That's an unbelievable. Yet they are now 2 to 2.5 point dogs at home against the Patriots. And if you look at them, they're kind of evenly matched. And to me, when teams are sort of evenly matched, you always go with the home team. What is happening? Explain it to me.
I think it's Mitch Trubisky. If you look at what the Steelers did on Sunday, yes, they beat the Bengals. They also did it with a turnover margin of +5. They actually gained less total yards than the Patriots, and we saw what the Patriots looked like when they scored 7 points. They had less first downs than the Patriots, and they also played an extra 10 minutes in that game. So offensively, they really weren't able to move the ball at all. Meanwhile, you had the Patriots with the 3 turnovers, so I think you look at those turnover margins, and if you're the books, you're thinking, all right, those things are kind of water's going to seek its level here, and it's going to be a much more even matchup. And they're certainly leaning towards the Patriots.
I can't offer anybody the gambling advice or the sort of statistical analysis that he just gave you, but I would say like there's some feeling that what happened in week 1 with the Steelers was a little bit of a mirage. And the fact that the Bengals were still in that game, despite the fact that they turned the ball over 5 times, I think speaks well of Cincinnati, and also maybe speaks to the margin for error that the Steelers are going to be working with, at least in the early parts of this year. Their offensive line's an issue. And I think this is a big one that you didn't mention.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning it. Yep.
Their best player, their very best player, who was a huge part of creating that pressure on Joe Burrow, of causing those turnovers, will not play on Sunday.
Yeah.
But do you need a TJ Watt against this Patriots offense? Like that, I guess that's why I'm still a little surprised, because the Steelers defense put Joe Burrow and the Bengals into a position to turn the ball over and cause them, a headache. And even though the Steelers offense couldn't do anything, I would have to imagine if the Steelers defense can corral the Bengals offense, they certainly should be able to do it with the Patriots offense.
But TJ Watt's also the best defensive player in football.
Right there. I mean, I'd argue Aaron Donald, but probably number 2.
Yeah, but I mean, he was also, I know he was in on at least 2 of those turnovers, maybe more than that. Might have been more like 3 or.
I mean, he wreaks havoc, and like that was the thing. Like if you watch that game. Like TJ Watt was either creating the pressure himself, or there was a tension going to him that was creating the pressure elsewhere. And so that's going to be the question for the Steelers right now. Do they have the secondary rushers? Cam Hayward's going to be part of that, obviously. He's an interior rusher. Alex Highsmith's a guy who's sort of stepped up for them on the edge, but he's always been dealing with it in different circumstances where like he has a lot of favorable matchups because offenses are focused on Watt. What does he look like now as their primary rusher? Malik Reed, a guy they traded for from Denver. Those are the types of players you're talking about now with TJ Watt out.
And Najee Harris is also probably out, so that's another weapon that's taken away from them on offense that would maybe take some pressure off of Mitch Trubisky. All right, one potential X factor for Pittsburgh. I can't believe this is the first time we're talking about this all week. Defensive assistant Brian Flores, the former Patriots defensive play caller, is now the linebackers coach for Pittsburgh. This is what Mitch Trubisky had to say about his presence in Pittsburgh. Quote, having Flo in our meetings and having him to ask about defenses, I think him being there gives us good insight on what they may be talking about and how they may be game planning for us. If we keep those things in mind and have a good work week, I think it can be a good advantage for us. All right, let's bring in Phil Perry to chat with Bert Breer and myself. Oh, just kidding. No Bert Breer. It's just me and Phil. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. All right, what kind of difference does Brian Flores make? To be quite honest, Phil, I sort of forgot about this connection, but this could be an advantage for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think it could. I think the Patriots defense has probably changed a little bit since Brian Flores was here last. Just based on personnel alone, this is a team that I think we all think is going to be playing a little bit more zone than it did when Brian Flores was the de facto coordinator, and they played a ton of man, and they blitzed the hell out of teams relentlessly. I think we'll see a little bit less of that this year, but he certainly would know the rules that this defense plays by. When an offense presents the Patriots defense X, they respond by doing Y, and it's probably things that guys that played all the way back in, for instance, the Ted Johnson era would understand, because these are Bill Belichick's rules and they have evolved over time. But I'm sure there's plenty that Brian Flores knows that he could help this Steelers offense with. It sounds like, based on how the Steelers offense has looked really dating back to the start of training camp, they're going to need all the help they can get all season long.
Phil, do you think Flores is a bigger help to for this week alone, not all season, but facing the Patriots, is he a bigger help to Mitch Trubisky in the offense to help them more intimately understand the Patriots defense? Or at the end of the day, is he a defensive guy and is he probably just by de facto of that be more help to the Patriots or to the Steelers defense?
Well, what I'm most curious to see is exactly how the Steelers defense decides to play the Patriots. And now things may have changed with Brian Flores inserted into the mix this offseason, and maybe the Steelers are skewing more towards being that man-to-man type of style defense that he loved both here in New England and down in Miami. But if you look at some of the numbers coverage-wise last year, the Steelers were really a zone-heavy team, and I think the reason that would be interesting would be if they get a lot of zone, the Patriots get a lot of zone this weekend, I think that could help them. What the Dolphins did on Sunday this past weekend was it looked like they played a lot of press at the line of scrimmage. They mixed in some zone as well, for sure, but they played a single high safety, and they basically dared the Patriots to beat them on the outside, and the Patriots are still running into this issue, Trenni, that they ran into all last year, which is, do they have the offensive firepower, the talent at the receiver position to beat teams when they give them the double freedom rockets? You can't beat us on the outside, and we know it, so we're going to blitz the hell out of you, and we're going to send a ton of bodies to the box to defend your complicated run schemes. That's what the Dolphins did, and the Patriots really couldn't beat them on the outside until Kendrick Bourne caught one for 41 yards. Did the Steelers try to do something similar this weekend?